It's my birthday tomorrow, and I am feeling in a very reflective mood. It's a Monday, so this is typically my day for reflection, and I've just been pondering where I've been in the past 12 months, who I've become as a person, what are the lessons that I've learned based on the things that I've gone through, and how have they helped me grow and become, more of who I am? And also, how can I package that in a way that is helpful for other people who are tuning in? And this year has been interesting, but also like you think you've done a lot, and then you look back and you're like, I haven't done a lot. And then I went through my phone memories just to kind of jog my memory, and I was like, no, I have done a lot. I've traveled a lot for personal and for business, and my business has seen amazing highs this year, but also seen like really bad, not bad, like sad lows, I guess, because there's no judgment there. And I have really just been thinking about this past turn around the sun. Um, what are the takeaways here? So I've boiled them down. I've got like five for you, and I just want to share them with you. So it's my birthday tomorrow. I'm turning 34. And then on Friday, I've organized a dinner party with my close girlfriends who live locally. We're going to go out for dinner and just have like a really fun, beautiful night. And I guess this is my first takeaway, right? As I was tapping away on Canva, putting together my invitation for said dinner party, I was thinking, I don't remember, I don't remember the last time I've ever gone out for a friend's birthday. Uh, and I don't know if that is just do people do this anymore? Like, have we stopped celebrating our birthdays? And also, my other question and takeaway is uh, we should do this more. Like, if not for yourself, bring your friends together because it's really fun. Most of my friends are parents now, and it's just a fun freaking night to go away with the girls, have a cheese board, have some wine if that's your thing, have a mocktail, and just kind of celebrate, get dressed up, put some lipstick on. I think it's really underrated and more of us should do it. And I'm very excited to do that this Friday. So, first lesson, celebrate yourself more. Um, I was also thinking, like, so this time last year for my birthday, my family and I had gone to this beautiful mountain town and I rode my motorcycle. And as I was looking back on those photos, I was like, wow, I think that was maybe probably the second time I'd ridden my motorcycle postpartum. Um, this time last year when I had my birthday, I was about 10 months after having my son. And I was really just feeling into who I was after becoming a mother and trying to like recapture that identity. And I wasn't quite there yet. I was really trying with the motorcycle like riding motorcycles for sure has always helped with that. Having my own business has always helped with that. But I just felt like this kind of t- um, pull and shove. What do you go? What do you call that game where you're like pulling a rope? You've got two teams. Tug of war. There was just like this tug of war happening in my mind of like, can I be a mom? Can I be a business owner? And I really felt like I was living with this question of how can I make this work? How can I make this work? OMG Mel, how am I going to make this work? And what I learned in that process was, looking back with hindsight, obviously, is that I was living too much in the question of how am I going to make this work, and just getting lost in the panic and the overwhelm and the anxiety that that brings, and not living enough in the solution of, okay, how am I going to make this work, Mel? How am I going to build a future and thrive where I can do all of these things and be fulfilled as a parent and as a business owner and as like an individual soul and feel like fully expressed? And living in that solution mindset of like, okay, here's where we are, now what's next? And I think since then, I have really rooted more into being myself, figuring out the juggle of the motherhood and the business, and that has really helped me feel better. It's really given me a lot more peace back to say, like, okay, maybe I'm not there 100% yet, but I'm working on it and I'm making progress every day. And like, that's something I'm really proud of. And just having that in myself to be like, okay, I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it and I feel proud of where I'm at. Not that I'm necessarily verbalizing this to anyone other than those tuning in right now, of course. But I just feel like that has helped me lean into my authenticity and helped me express myself in ways that I hadn't before, and unlocked new potentials that I hadn't really thought about back when I was, 33, just turning 33. So that's been a huge 12-month growth point for me, is leaning more into that identity of, yes, I can be a mother. I can also be a business owner. Like, it's 2025. People fucking do this. So like, Mel, you just need to figure this out. And being like solution oriented. The second thing I learned was that there's going to be ups and downs in your business. So 2024 for me was like the peak of my business manifestations and like the peak of everything that I dreamed for in my business. And it was also like the lowest of lows, super sad times, super tough times, and literally they followed each other immediately. So like, I was on the high in September. I shit you not. I crashed down in October, November, and then sort of came back out of that hole in starting December. And, this I think is just so telling of business. There are going to be ups and downs, and you never know when they're going to be. So I think like you just have to be there for the ride, and also appreciate when the low lights happen, because they still are. I think of a graph, right? If you if you think of like back in math class, a lot of people's brains just turned off. But if you were going to plot the line of a graph, like there would be like all these million lines, and you're like, these lines don't make sense. Why are there dots everywhere? This is totally a random pattern of up and down. It makes no sense, and they're just like scatter. It's just like a scatterbrain of dots all over the wall. But then you go, okay, like if I actually average those dots, I'm going to get an upward trending line. So you're going to get, on average, you will get growth, you will get progress, but you just don't see it every single day, because every single day is like a random point on a graph. But when you average it over a year or even a 6-month time, you're like, oh no, I see the trend here. I see that we're moving forward. I see that there is progress, and not getting lost in the lowlights. So I want to go into a little bit more depth on this, just to kind of give you some clarity. So in September, we got amazing speaking opportunities in the United States for the podcast, and they were just phenomenal. So phenomenal. So they flew me to the US. We did some keynotes, we did some workshops. They were very, very handsomely paid, incredibly generous, and we were just so blessed and grateful for these opportunities. And so I'm kind of riding this wave of like, wow, this is beyond anything I'd ever imagined. So fantastic. And like the height of my career, just living it up. I also took my son on that 2-week trip to the US. So like, I'm like crushing this motherhood business thing, like so good. And then, we flew home and October came, and then just some personal life changes happened that really changed my complete schedule. And then I was basically like unable to give time to the business, and sort of went into full stay-at-home mum vibes. And I was just like, I don't see how I can make the business happen with all of this personal stuff going on. And I was just so conflicted that I made the decision to stop my business for indefinitely. Actually, I was with the intent of closing my business completely. And I never did get that far because it was only like a 2-month period. And I was just like, I stopped my business. I just went into a deep reflection. Like, I shed so many layers of who I thought I was, of like this ego. I feel like my ego just got shredded in this time of like, oh, you think you're like some big hotshot, but like actually you just have to be this other person now and this other identity. And I was really challenged by that at the time because I was like, but I don't want, I wanted that. Like, that's what I was working for all these years. Like, how can this possibly be happening? And, but I realized it's actually the fucking point. It's actually the whole point is, sometimes life throws you just these obstacles and these, puts these things on your bingo card that you're like never would have foreseen in a million years. And then, but like these things, I mean, there's always that choice of like being the victim, being like, wow, I'm so sad, like my life could have been, or I could have been XYZ, but I'm doing this, or I to victimize yourself. But there's also the perspective of like life happens for me, and also how do I kind of make lemonade with these lemons right now. And that's how I felt at the time. And I think life like only gives you things that you can figure out. Life only sort of deals you a hand that you can handle and problem solve with, and you come out of it greater and bigger and smarter and wiser, maybe like a little more thick skin. And that was a huge lesson for me. It also just showed me that you just have to keep moving. Like, you just have to keep moving, even through those low times. Like, you just keep, like, you cannot stop. So when I was a kid, I was very obsessed with the Olympic Games. And even though I'm not really athletic, I was just like so obsessed with the Olympic Games as a child. And I remember when they had the Sydney Olympics in 2000, I had a friend who was running with the Olympic torch. And you may know when the Olympics are happening, they have the Olympic flame, and they will like tour the Olympic flame throughout the whole world. And you usually run with it. Like, the torch is usually beautiful and like super pretty. And I was just really obsessed with this idea of the Olympic flame. And the cool thing about it is they never extinguish it. So you just like, you literally, everyone has this fancy torch, and you touch the torches, and then you light the other person's torch, and they run with it, and they continue with the flame all around the world. Eventually they will end in the city where the games are held. In 2000 it was in Sydney, so that's why I was able to see the Olympic flame and just like appreciate like how cool that process was. So they keep the flame alight no matter what. In storms, in rain, they keep running, and I just feel like we have to keep this flame alive no matter like how low we dip, because keeping that flame alive, like even if you just like feel like you're in the middle of a storm and you're just cradled around this poor little flame, trying to keep the flame alive and like cupping your hands around it to keep the wind off it, like you still have to keep it alive, because even like those times where you feel like, wow, this feels really tough, are going to lead you to the times where like you're triumphantly running across the finish line with the torch in your hand, and it's like bright skies and beautiful. And I just think, keep the flame alive, keep moving through it, do not stop, keep that vision alive in your business. It will get you so far. Just keeping that vision alive will get you so far. The third thing that I've really been reflecting on now that I am turning 34, so my last spin around the sun, is I am really deepening my trust to my intuition and my inner knowing. And I've been honing this for probably 5 years. And I used to, anytime I needed to make a decision, I used to like literally go to my network and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. These are my options. What do you think? Like, what should I do? I would do this to family. I would do this to friends. I would do this to coworkers, and just be like, look for those external reflections of like how I wanted to act, even though I probably had a preference. I was waiting for other people to tell me what to do. And now that I'm turning 34, I'm just like so more in tuned with that intuition of like, I know in an instant, like if my gut's like for something or against something. And this has really helped me make decisions and make movements in my business. And I think it even helped me, like in that dip in my business last quarter where I was like, man, I'm done. Like, this is it for me. I think my intuition really led me to be like, babe, it's not. Like, stick in there. Like, just use this time as reflection. Just use this time as restful. But like, it's not done. You're not done. And that has really helped me see myself through the ups and the downs. And also, I think it helps to know, like, what does this intuition sort of tell us to do? Like, intuition is never going to lead you in the wrong direction. Intuition is like has it's like that deep inner knowing. It's kind of like in your body, in your consciousness, and it always is leading you to the highest and best path for you. And leaning into this has helped me not just have questions, but like find the answers for my questions. So, as I was saying before, instead of like living in the question of like, how am I going to do this? This is crazy. How am I going to make it work? But like leaning into the solution and finding the answers. And I think my intuition has like come up with that. So, some ways to do this that might be practical for you is, journaling on it is fantastic. Tapping into your dream state is fantastic. So if you have a question, ponder that question as you're falling asleep at night. Literally ask yourself in your mind that question. How am I going to make this work? Like, what's my next step? What do I need to do in my business? And just see what comes up in your dreams, because that's often going to be an indication of your subconscious working. You might have some like spirit guides chiming in your dream state. And also your intuition is going to be showing you like visual representations of what's your highest and best path. So these answers, knowing that you have the answer to, I think, is also like mind blowing, because like no one ever tells you that you can solve your own problems. We're taught that we need, money to do things. We need to pay people, and like this person has a solution and this person has a solution, but no one actually tells you that you have your own answers. If you tune in and get quiet enough and like listen patiently and consistently to what your intuition is telling you. And that has really helped me just have a really deep knowing for my path. And I think the other piece that this brings up is the quieting of my inner critic. My intuition has helped with. And I have noticed in the last several months, actually, that the more I deeply lean into this, the more I'm like, no, babe, like, this is it. You're on the right path. Keep going, keep going, keep going. The less I'm like, OMG, am I doing the right thing? Like, this feels crazy. Um, is my content any good? Am I helping people? Is anyone ever listening? I'm less attuned to that and more attuned to like my gut sinking in, being like, this is it. You're doing the right thing, and following that. So that has been just amazing, amazing, amazing. Leaning into my intuition and deepening that inner knowing, because that is helping ease my inner critic almost to like a nothingness anymore, which is wild, because that drained so much of my energy for so many years. The fourth thing is, by following the path you love, You will get really, really wildly amazing, beyond your wildest dreams. You couldn't even make this shit up. Purely magical results by doing the things you love. And this is really representative of the speaking events I did last year. And with the podcast, everything that has been the most fun for me, that has lit me up the most, has also been the easiest path of least resistance for me. And this has gotten me the best results. That has got me the best results. Like, hands down, no question. It hasn't been the grinding and the striving and the, trying to figure out what the Instagram Reels song algorithm is of the day. Like, none of that hustling has gotten me the results of doing the things that I love, because when I love them, I do them consistently. I find a way to make them easy. I feel zero resistance when I do them. And these are the things that have got me the best results. And I used to think, like, when I first got on social media a long time ago, there were like so many of those inspirational quotes of like, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. And I was just always like, just called BS on that, because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I was just like, that is just stuff that people feed you to make you feel good, so you double tap. And I would rephrase it, like, those words don't necessarily resonate with me, but I think doing the things you love, following the path that lights you up, gets you big results. And that is something that I wish I believed in sooner and wasn't such a cynic about. But these past 12 months, this last spin around the sun has really anchored in to be like, shit, that shit's real. I think that's actually what manifestation is. I think that's actually what the law of attraction is. And figuring out, how do I lean into that even more? How do I lean into that even more? So how do I take these things that are working for me and double down and scale? And that might be something for you to think about, is like, okay, is there something in your business right now where you're like, wow, like this product offering, I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with this service, this product that I offer. This other stuff, like, I don't love doing it. Like, the vibe isn't there. The whole, I don't love it as much with my clients. But this over here, hell yeah. So how can we amplify that? And maybe that's niching down in your business, or maybe that's just kind of niching down in your product and service offering. That's absolutely what I've done in my business and my content. And figuring out, okay, what is this in my life that lights me up? How can I double down? How can I scale it in a way that's going to be really fun, that keeps the fire there, that keeps the flame alive, and also gives you that kind of strategy and that tactical piece to kind of back it up. So you're not just fluffy, I love this, but you actually have that strategy there to back you up, so that what you love is kind of produced and put out into the world in a systematic way. So that might be something to think about. That's definitely something that I'm doing in the podcast and my content. I'm definitely working a ton behind the scenes to basically back it up, to put my money where my mouth is. The fifth thing that I have really learned this past year around the sun is that things are actually so much easier than we make them out to be. Literally everything in the world is so much easier than you think it is. And you're probably like, no, Mel, my dreams are actually really hard. And this thing that I'm doing is really complicated. But yes, just think about someone who has done that thing and be like, oh, well, they did it. Obviously I can do it. Obviously I can do it. And even take that phrase, obviously I can do it too, and just kind of make that a mantra for you, is Like, it's been done. Obviously, you can do it. It's not a problem. And I thought, to give you an example, like I thought getting paid big opportunity, paid speaking events was going to be impossible, super hard. Like I would have to grind it out and like apply for 1,000 before I even got anything successful. But actually, what it was just a matter of us reaching out to our networks and seeing what opportunities were there, and then leveraging those connections, submitting an application, and then doing a couple steps in between, and then becoming successful in that application. Like, things are not as easy as we think they are. I actually have come to think that humans have a bias towards overthinking and risk aversion, because like we don't want to look dumb, we don't want to be, we don't want to lose money, we don't want to lose reputation, we just don't want to feel like an idiot. So we don't try. And then that also lets us feel comfortable, and we can stay small and be like, I want to do that thing, but I'm not gonna, for all these reasons. But what we actually have to do is like have a bias towards action and just be like, oh, obviously I can do that too. Here's the thing that I need to do, and I'm just going to do it. And the more you do that, the more you realize that, like, all these huge big millionaires, billionaires in the world, like they just got shit done. And they had a team to do stuff for them. So I think that the key thing here for me is just take action. Just do that thing. Just do the next thing that makes the most sense for you and your business. Even if they're baby steps, it doesn't matter. It's just taking that action, kind of giving you that confidence that you can do it. And that's going to reinforce the next time that you do something big and scary, that like, oh, obviously I can do that too. And before you know it, you're going to be at that goal that you've just been dreaming about, like we were with the speaking events. And then you're like, okay, now what's next? And that's really all there is to it. I think stay focused on the actions, stay focused on the tiny things that you can do today to get to where you want to be, and not overthink things. So now that I've just gone through all that, I'm really seeing a theme here of just like leaning in to myself, into who I am, appreciating the ups and downs, but keeping that flame alive and knowing that I'm here for a reason. Trust my gut. Know that I'm on this path. It's going to work out. That's going to quiet down my inner critic. And then I'm just going to take action. So this is just a reflective episode for me this year. I hope that listening to it, you were able to gain something from it and apply some of these lessons in your business as well. So I hope you had an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.